All right, we go. Okay, hey everybody. How is everybody doing today? Good. I hope everybody, if there's anybody out there, is doing well too. Diane, okay, hey. So it was so fun, I thought, on Friday when everybody was here and we had the potluck and those Renaissance Society folks were here. That was really great. And thank you everybody who participated and brought dishes. And I thought it was just really, really fun. And so today, and actually several questions came up when I did my little spiel, was like, if you're a vegetarian or you're plant-based, how do you get your protein? And so I told them to come today, but I don't see them, I don't think. But yes, okay. Quinoa is not wheat. It is gluten-free. Okay, good. All right. So we're talking about where do you get your protein? Now, of course, you know, we really promote a whole food, plant-based eating style here. And so one of the biggest questions you think is, oh my gosh, I won't get enough protein. Even, you know, highly educated doctors will say you're not going to get enough protein. My own cardiologist told me I should eat a steak when I wasn't feeling so good. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. There you go. I know it. No, this was actually a setter. Yes. Yeah, actually, so then when I moved to Kaiser eventually, I chose a doctor who was plant-based, and all over her office are all these whole food plant-based stuff things. So I really like that. So we're going to talk about where we get our protein if we're not eating animal foods. And I don't even know if I have a slide that says, why would we not want to eat animal foods? But just in case I don't, animal foods are generally associated with more health risk. Heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure. They're usually higher in saturated fat. Particularly processed animal foods would be at the top of the list of things I wouldn't want to eat if I was a meat eater. So it usually goes processed animal foods, and then red meats, and then processed sugars and sweets and those kind of things is the list of what to avoid. So we're going to talk about protein. So when we're trying to follow a whole food plant-based diet, if you're familiar with the general choose my plate, it's usually fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and the corner where we say legumes and nuts, it says meat or protein or something like that. I think it says protein now. So for ours, it's legumes and nuts. Now, the thing is, if you give up animal foods and you choose legumes and nuts, what you're getting is great protein without the saturated fat and without all the negative things that come with animal foods. Plus, you're getting loads of fiber. So we're trying to eat fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and our protein would be legumes and nuts. But the truth is, and you'll see, I think when we talk about it, everything on that plate has some protein in it. So you don't necessarily need to have like a piece of meat on your plate like we were all raised to do, because our whole grains have protein, our vegetables have protein, our fruits really don't have a whole lot, but then our legumes and nuts do. Okay, so where's the beef? And you know, last month I talked about grilling, and so I actually used some of the same slides, so hopefully I don't bore you too much. But look at this. Where's the beef? When we're planning a meal, instead of beef or animal foods, we're using plant proteins, and we'll talk all about those. We're also doing carbs, but unprocessed, whole grain, high fiber carbs, and then we're doing healthy fats. So taking a look at this plate here that we have, where is our protein? Well, okay, the good answer, everything. But the nuts, we've got the tofu, which I'm assuming that's what that is, tofu. We have the garbanzo beans, right? Now we know the vegetables have some too. And our whole grain, I think that's quinoa actually, will have some protein in it also. So now also if we're thinking, well, where's my carbs in that? Well, my carbs are probably that quinoa. We're going to have carbs in our beans. And I think that might be a sweet potato there. So our vegetables and fruits have those too. So we really can get plenty. Now, if you ate that, do you think you'd still be hungry?
No.
We would be stuffed, wouldn't we? Yes. So not only is it very filling, you get to eat more when you're eating this way because it's fewer calories per bite. So you get to eat more to fill up, and you have all this extra fiber and good nutrients. So there are plant protein foods are on the rise. So has anybody heard of like Impossible Burgers and Beyond Burger and all those kind of things? They are on the rise. So why are they on the rise? Well, because plant proteins have shown health benefits, including reducing our risk of heart disease and obesity. What else? Hypertension, type 2 diabetes, some cancers. So people want that. People want to be healthier. Hopefully they want to be healthier enough to not eat the animal stuff, or at least to make more room for plants. If that's what all we come away with on this, if you're not ready to do this, let's just make more room for plants. And then there's also an environmental impact when we eat animal foods. It's not good for our environment. Meat production causes these greenhouse gas emissions. So people who are concerned about the environment also are going to be going more meatless. And it really makes me crazy when they have all these, I don't know what you call them, conferences and forums on reducing, the environmental impact of things in our world and helping with climate change. And then I bet at those luncheons, they're serving chicken and beef. I bet you anything. So if they just didn't do that, it would be so much better. And then some people are worried about how we treat our farm animals, which is very true too. I think if we knew, I heard somebody say, if you had to actually kill your own chicken and eat it, you wouldn't want to eat meat. So we don't see that. We're totally blinded to all of that.
Was in airborne rangers and went to teach them the rocket training.
Yeah.
So they starved them for 2 days, and then they brought them into a circle and they released some chickens and rabbits. And the guys ran around and caught them. And they're all holding them. Now these are big, tough Army Rangers. And they said, okay, now kill this animal with your hand. We're going to allow you to eat it off in the wild and eat it raw. You want to fire and attractive. We'll allow you to cook. And he said he looked around and he was a lot guys that didn't want to kill a rabbit or chicken.
Well, you gotta love the little bunnies.
So what he did was he offered to kill their animal for them in exchange for half the meat.
Oh.
And he got several deals out of it. Yeah, it makes a big difference.
So for those of you in Zoom world, Kevin just gave us a story about these big, tough Army Rangers who got let loose and they had to kill their own food, and it was hard for a lot of them to do that. So I think if you know, you don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Another thing about the animal protein is they're cutting down forests in South America.
Mm-hmm. True. You're right. So they're changing really the scope of our world. They're cutting down forests. That's what she was just commenting, that they're cutting down forests in South America, Amazon, in order to raise beef because we're demanding it. I don't know that any other country is demanding it as much as we are. So that has an environmental impact. Yes.
A Netflix documentary, You Are What You Eat.
Yes.
And it shows a little glimpse of what's behind beef, chicken, salmon, and I've gone plant-based.
That's all it takes. What's the name of so Carrie just mentioned that on Netflix there's this You Are What You Eat. It's a series, right? Is it the twin one? Yeah, it's about the twins. Yeah. It's about a twin study, and they have a little glimpse of where our meats come from. So I really encourage that documentary. It was really good. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, it's very good. Okay, so why do we care about protein anyway? Well, we do need to have some. It's essential for our body. It helps with our tissues and our cells. It makes antibodies, or antibodies are made of protein. So we need to use that to fight off illness. Our enzymes, which are these little things that go around and help reactions occur in our body, made from protein. Hormones, made from protein. And then also proteins carry around things like oxygen, electrons. I should add into here too, cholesterol. So if you've ever had your LDL measured, that's low density lipoprotein. That means your cholesterol hopped onto a little bus and got traveled around your body. So those are proteins. And also protein's important for weight loss. So it's true that it helps us to feel more full. And if we're trying to lose weight, then you don't want to lose your muscle. So we need to have enough protein so that we preserve our lean muscle mass. So we do. Now, it doesn't mean we need to have lots more protein, but we need to be making sure we have plenty of protein, which in our country, we generally always do. So I showed this last time. I'll just go over it briefly too. It's how do you calculate what you need in protein? Because people always want a number. And so they usually do it based on, well, and there's several ways. Sometimes the USDA will have an average macronutrient requirement, and that is just 10 to 35% of our calories. So that's one way to figure it out. But another one is 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, we don't generally weigh ourselves in kilograms. And for vegans, they do recommend about 1 gram, and that's particularly for older adults, 1 gram per kilo. So if you think, well, I don't know how many kilos I am, then you can just divide your weight by 2.2. And so another way of saying this, I'm just going to jump down to the 1 because it's easier, is about 0.45 grams of protein per pound of our body weight. And you use your ideal body weight, or now, if we have a lot of extra weight, that doesn't need extra protein. Fat doesn't need the protein. It's our tissues that need the protein. So we don't need to, don't count your extra fat. Count maybe what you think your ideal weight is. Or if you need help with that, I can help you, or Leanne can help you. We can help you with that. So here's a 200-pound person. And they're going to, if we were going to go to that range, 0.8 to 1 gram protein per kilogram, that's 0.36 grams per pound, grams of protein. Oh, that's pounds, sorry. So that's 72 grams a day. And so for most people, I mean, you can do your math, but for the ladies, we're around 40, 50. And the guys, you're more like 60, 70. It really depends on how much you weigh. So for this one, 40 to 80 is kind of the average, or 10 to 20% of your calories. It's another way to do it. I don't suggest you really count it unless you really wonder. And you could start to count that. It's just one more thing you have to think about, though. If we're just making sure we're getting a wide variety of foods, especially if we're doing whole food plant-based, a wide variety of plants, and you include a good protein like powerhouse a few times a day, like beans or those things I have laying around the classroom, we're going to be fine. So has anybody heard about the issues with protein quality? Because people say, oh yeah, you're getting it from plants. That's not as good as the protein from meat, right? Well, good isn't the right word, but they are different. So animal protein has all of the essential amino acids. Amino acids are like the little building blocks of protein. There's 9 that are essential, meaning you've got to get them from your diet. And there's about 20 that kind of make up all the proteins that our body needs to make. There's really, of amino acids, there's like 500 amino acids out there. But we're just aiming for, we're trying to get those 20 amino acids and 9 of the essential. Now, plant protein, notice, has all the essential amino acids. It's just, it's not as in larger quantities, and sometimes the proportion is a little bit different. That's where they vary. So it used to be that we think you had to combine foods at the same meal to get a complete protein. And a complete protein would be all the essential amino acids in just the right proportion. And back with Diet for a Small Planet, or what was that? Francis LePay. What was that book? Was it Diet for a Small Planet? I had the little paperback when I was in high school, I remember. That they used to think, and we didn't know any different. You had to combine that everything at the same meal. You had to have beans and rice at the same meal. Now we know you just need to get a variety of plant foods over the day. now we know that we have these little pools of amino acids in our body. And so when we eat protein, it breaks down into individual amino acids. Those amino acids go into these little pools. And now when we need to make a hormone, it goes swimming in those little pools and we make it. So really, we don't need to have it at the same meal. And people still tout that sometimes. And I just think those people are just really looking at old literature. It's not that way now, but we do want to have a variety of plant foods. So as an example, in the what different proportions, beans are low in an amino acid called methionine. Grains are low in lysine. Beans have plenty of lysine, and grains have plenty of methionine. So when you combine beans and rice, they call that now a complete protein. But really, all the plants we eat are complete proteins. They're just in different proportions. So we don't need to combine it the same meal. And if people are telling you that, tell them to call me, because the research is so much better now. Now, lysine is the most limited amino acid in the vegan diet. And it's important because it's important for bone health and fighting off getting sick for our immune system. And it helps our fatty acids metabolism, means converting the food into calories. So a lot of times you'll hear lysine promoted. And in fact, I just saw somebody write a little article and say, oh, you should take lysine supplements. And you don't really need to. We don't need to have one more supplement. We just need to get a variety of foods. So I just listed up here the things that are particularly high in lysine. So things that we just ate just over there: tofu, tempeh, which is a fermented soybean, soy, lentils, seitan, which is wheat meat. It's made from gluten, and other beans. But then our quinoa, pistachios, amaranth, pumpkin seeds. A lot of those are things that we eat every week, right? So basically have beans, peas, peanuts, or soy every day, and you're going to be just fine with your lysine.
What is amaranth?
Amaranth is a grain. It's an ancient grain. It's a little tiny grain. And actually, it's been touted a lot lately because it's supposed to be a good sustainable grain, so that it's good for our environment. But it's not one we see a whole lot, but it's good.
I think they make an Ethiopian restaurant, that bread they have.
That's teff.
Oh,
That's teff, yes. So amaranth also often is a hot cereal. It makes like mush. It's good. I know. Mush sounds like such a gross word, but it's actually really pretty good. So I think you got the bag. Does that have amaranth in it? It's an oatmeal. It's from Trader Joe's, and it has a bunch of other grains added to it, and it's got amaranth in it. Yeah, I'd never seen that. I want to go try that. So, and this is just vegan foods, highest to lowest in lysine. So it's most of the things I had on that other slide. But look, if we're eating our peas every day, beans, peas, soy, we're going to be just fine. If you throw some chia seeds in your oatmeal, if you throw some pumpkin seeds on your salad, nutritional yeast, I actually use nutritional yeast in that tofu over there today. So here's how much protein we're getting from plants. And as our point of reference, 1 ounce of meat is 7 grams of protein. 1 ounce of meat, 7 grams of protein. So if we had the traditional recommended deck of card size piece of meat, which would be 3 ounces, that would be 21 grams. Nobody actually eats that little, but so I think that goes to prove we get much more protein than we need in our country. So we start with beans and legumes. So there's about 7 to 9 grams in a half cup serving. So when I have beans, I can have a whole cup, but sometimes half a cup. I don't know. We'll see. So I gave everybody some labels. So share labels. Some people have beans. There might be some lentils out there. Let's see. And then I'm gonna go into nuts and seeds because some of you have nuts and seeds too. 5 to 8 grams in a quarter cup serving, which is kind of big. That's kind of a big serving a lot of times for nuts and seeds. Nut butters, 2 tablespoons. And so that includes our flax, our hemp, our sesame seeds, our sunflower seeds. So who has the lentils out there? Okay, what does it say on, turn around, that's everybody, look at your label, look at your serving size, and then look at your grams of protein. And those of you at home, go get something out of your cupboard.
Serving size container 21.
Okay,
Which one's that?
she's got the lentils.
Calories per serving 70. Zero everything.
Okay,
Except dietary fiber,
yay.
36%, 9 grams.
Okay,
And total carbohydrates are 19 grams.
okay,
Protein, 7 grams, and everything else is 0.
okay. So 7 grams in a serving.
Mhm.
So I'll show you a sample day's menu, but you think, oh, 7 grams, that's, at breakfast, we might have a little less, and then lunch and dinner, we get more if we're eating meat or animal foods, but we're getting a variety of foods. So remember, we're counting the protein in our whole grains and in our vegetables too. So even though you think, oh, that doesn't seem like a whole lot, you're getting lots of fiber, and it's going to add up with everything during the day.
Then if you add, it depends on how you cook it. If you add, different things.
Well, that is true. So Leanne made that yummy salad over there, and she made it with that quinoa. So how many grams of protein in a serving of quinoa? Right there between the two of you.
107. Serving size quarter of a cup,
Okay.
43 grams.
So now drop down, and almost the last one that they list is protein. I should have had a label up here as a reference. I want to say it's like 7 or 9. We need glasses when we're looking at labels.
I know, my
Oh,
glasses.
it's very small.
Yeah,
Protein. 5 grams.
5 grams. Okay. All right. So that's in our quinoa, which is often touted as a complete protein. But remember, all our plants are complete proteins. So that one maybe just has a better proportion. How are our black beans over here? You guys?
Those are 7 grams.
7 grams. Okay. And half a cup. Okay.
That's really surprised. 10 grams per serving.
In the pumpkin seeds, I was kind of surprised too. In a quarter cup, 10 grams.
Yeah.
I mean, I normally don't have that much. I usually have 2 tablespoons. So I have half that. So that's 5. Okay. What else? Any other beans out there?
I think it's the same as 7 grams.
So, okay, good. All right.
Is there always gonna be a lot of sodium, even though it says low sodium?
Okay. So Paul has a can of beans. It says low sodium, and he's kind of surprised that it still has some sodium in it, right? So pretty much you can get no salt added. That's about the lowest. But then if you get the canned beans, no problem. You just rinse them off, and you rinse off the salt. You rinse off about 40% of the salt. But the way to get black beans with no salt is to make them yourself, which isn't as bad as you might think. Okay, so here's our grains. So like our quinoa is a grain. We have oats over here, 2 to 6 grams per serving. So how much in the, Paul, how much in your oats? How many grams of protein?
5.
5? And is that in half a cup dry?
Serving size.
Okay, half a cup. So that's 5. So I generally have a cup in the morning. So maybe I would double that. But we have that, and to put some pumpkin seeds on it. And then I don't know if there's anything else out there I'd throw in it that you guys have. But we're going to get plenty at breakfast. So any other grains out there that we missed? Where did that Trader Joe's bag go? Yeah. So that's got oatmeal plus a bunch of other. Yeah, I love that. So how many grams of protein in that one? 8 per half cup. Okay, that's nice. And now you could buy that at Trader Joe's, or you could just add all those things to your own and make your own mix, whichever you like. It's sometimes it's nice to have Trader Joe's do it for you. So grains, we got our quinoa, we got our oats. Now oat groats, which we've talked about when we talked about whole grains before, oat groats are like the top dog of the oat because it's more like how it grew out in the field. So it has more fiber and it's the highest protein too. Oat groats take longer to cook, but they're still really good. They're chewier. But wheat and wheat berries, so we grind up wheat berries to make our wheat bread. So wheat sprouts, all those we count as our grains, but so would rice. In fact, I didn't bring the rice. Rice just has a little less protein, but it still has some too. Hey, John. And then if we're eating veggies, 1 to 3 grams per serving. Serving's generally about half cup for most of our veggies. Now, I left out, what did I leave out of my labels? How did we do on the for a quarter cup?
Size about 9, serving size a third of a cup.
Third of a cup. Okay.
And then it says 30 grams.
Okay. I think that's weight. The third cup. Yeah, I think that's by weight.
Okay.
Okay. So, and then we've got our PB2 over here. I was curious on that because I like PB2 is defatted peanut butter or defatted peanuts. I'm a big peanut butter lover. But that PB, I thought maybe when they defat it, you lose the protein, but that's not what it shows. How much in that? 5 grams and 2 tablespoons. And like a general serving is about 2 tablespoons. So that's good. And those, does it have a lot of sodium? How much? 70? Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you're doing with it. We normally wouldn't eat more than that. And those yummy bite things that Carrie made on Friday, you used PB2, right? Yeah, those were really, really good. So this is just a list that we all need our glasses to see, but it shows, hello there. It just shows vegan protein. So vegan food sources, how much protein is per 100 grams or 3.5 ounces. Now, the thing is, some of these you think, oh, well, I should just be eating pumpkin seeds all the time, but we normally wouldn't eat that much pumpkin seeds in one sitting. So we got to take it with a grain of salt, so to speak. But these are pretty decent. Oh, and Paul, how was our tofu? You got our tofu, right? How was that?
7 grams per.
Oh, you can't read it because I had to rip off the label and I tried to tape it all back together. I think it's for 1/5 of the container, which is like 3 ounces.
Maybe that's what it's, 3 ounces.
I think it's
Yeah.
3 ounces. Yes.
85 serving size, 85 grams.
Okay. All right. So that was my tofu. And did anybody out there get the tempeh label? It's that funky looking orange one. Yeah. How many grams of protein in that?
90?
I don't think so. Go down the label. Oh, okay. 16. Okay. And you know what? So over today, thank you. That was 16 for a serving, and that's about half that package. So tempeh is fermented soybean, and then they usually add a grain or something to it. So it isn't gluten-free because they added like barley to it. But it's got loads of protein. It is one of the cheaper, well, besides beans, kind of a cheap way to do protein. And I'm really trying to love tempeh, and I don't always. But I'm trying to eat more of it. And in Dr. Greger's book, How Not to Age, he's really telling us to up the tempeh because there's something in it called spermidine, which sounds disgusting, but it's not what you think. But it has something, it has something in it that helps with aging. So his book is a great book, but it's not an easy read. But so luckily at the end of every chapter, it's the bottom line. And so, yes, maybe you should eat more of this. And tempeh is what came out of that for me. There's some over there. So I did too. I did a tofu and I did a tempeh. And so it's just, I don't know. What does it taste like? Nothing.
It's
Kind of
good.
nutty.
It's kind of nutty. It's starchy. It's not the texture I love.
Ingredients are soybeans, brown rice, barley, millet, lactic acid, and starch culture.
Mhm. That's the fermentation.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's a-
So, and you'll find it mixed, you'll find it fermented with other things. And I've had some recipes where I really loved it. Today I did really nothing to it because I just wanted you to really taste tempeh. But I'll try using it in some more recipes because I am trying to use it more. I put it, okay, so for both of them, well, no, for tempeh, I put a little low sodium soy sauce in it, let it sit for like 5 minutes, and then I put it in my pan. And I just cooked it and I tried to turn every little square over so it got dark on all sides. That's all I did to it. Yes. Okay, so back to our where's the beef. So unprocessed soy is the type of soy we want, because some people say, I'm going to get a soy protein isolate powder because then I'm going to get more protein. But really, our body likes things as they were created in nature. So unprocessed is best. The least processed of the soy products would be tofu, that tempeh, soy milk, and edamame, which is younger soybeans. So then seitan is wheat meat. So you take flour and you wash it, which sounds weird, but what's left is this kind of stretchy stuff. That's the gluten, and that's what seitan is. John, you cook with seitan. What do you do with it?
Make roast,
Roast.
pastrami made with some roast beef and some chicken.
Okay, so he makes kind of meat-like things with it, and it's got a meaty texture. And you make your seitan on your own, right? Yeah, that's good, because it's not an easy task, I don't think. You think? Okay, we need to have you teach us how. He's saying it's easy. It does take a while. So other protein, there's our beans and other legumes like we talked about. They're high fiber, they're low fat, you can't beat them. And now we know they're loaded with lysine. And then there's the faux meats, the fake meats, the Impossible Burger and the Beyond Burger and any other kind of burger out there. They're just more processed. We can make our own, which I'll show you in a second. Instead, the nuts and seeds are a good protein, veggies and whole grains, like we said. We could do soy milk, which I don't know why I had to put that in there again because it's up there, but also soy curls. And you know, soy curls should be up at the top too of my least processed. John's the king, as I've mentioned, of soy curls and has gotten us all on board. Now, another thing that often is used to replace meat in recipes is jackfruit. It's meat-like, but not super loaded in protein compared to some of the other things. But I love it for things like mixing it with barbecue sauce and making a pulled pork sandwich or something. So I do love it for that. And it's a whole plant food. Okay, so let's go back to our tofu. So tofu, I just read an article before I walked in here about how you should just make your own tofu at home. And it does look really easy. So I might try it. But they said to do that, you should also make your own soy milk. Because if you're going to make your own tofu, you might as well make your own soy milk.
You might as well spend all day.
Well, that's a good point too. She said you might as well spend all day in the kitchen. But you know, I feel like fall and winter are coming where you kind of want to nest and be in the kitchen a little more. So I'm hoping I might try it.
Look at the website on Mary's Test Kitchen.
Mary's Text Kitchen. Okay. Oh, okay. The coagulant.
Boil the milk or bring it to a warm.
Right.
Put the coagulant in, wait 10 minutes. And it's, the fluids and press.
Okay. So in case you missed that, it's supposedly really easy. And it sounds easy. And actually, when I read the article just today, it did seem kind of easy because you take your soy milk and they add a coagulant to it and you get the curds, like curds and whey our cottage cheese to milk. So that's what tofu is to soy milk. And then they press it into a little cake. So most people think it is absolutely tasteless, and it is. There's really not a whole lot of taste to it. So it picks up the flavor of anything you've got with it. I usually recommend pressing the liquid out. We've talked about this before. I have a tofu press, but you could also put it on a plate, put a plate on top of that, put your cast iron skillet on top of that, and it squishes the water out. You can slice it, you can cube it, you can crumble it. So today I just pressed mine. I slice it into little squares. Carrie and I were talking earlier, most any recipe you see for tofu, it always says like marinate it, but I have never had great flavor when I just marinate it. So I've morphed many things over time, but now I coat it in cornstarch, and I'll usually throw a little nutritional yeast or like an Asian type flavoring on there. And then I'll throw it in my cast iron skillet, try to cook it on all the sides, and then I throw my marinade on that. And you don't need as much marinade. You don't waste anything. I usually use rice vinegar, low sodium soy sauce, and a shot of hoisin sauce. Sometimes I'll throw in sriracha or whatever little gochujang sauce or something, whatever I've got going on at home. And then I just pour that on, and I feel like it works like a charm every time. So what did you think about the tofu if you tried the tofu? Do you think it was okay? I feel like it's so much more flavorful than when you marinate. So I like doing it that way personally. So you can bake it, you can grill it. I actually usually do my tofu out on the grill on the side burner. But if I cut it in little oblong squares, like you have the picture there, those are grill marks. You can do it on the grill, no problem at all. Now, I don't have a picture of it, but the tofu that we use today is in a little box filled with water. Thank you. Paul's got it there. But you can also get your tofu in aseptic packaging, meaning it's the stuff that you don't really have to refrigerate. And you think that's weird because we always refrigerate stuff, but it doesn't have to be. And it's a silken tofu. So that would be better for our smoothies, our dips, and our sauces. It just blends up nicer. It doesn't get clumpy. Exactly. Tofu can be used as an egg replacer in a recipe. You can add it to salads, sandwiches, soups. You just can add it to everything. When I make a batch of tofu or tempeh, then I have that for the next 3 or 4 days to throw on a salad, to throw on a bowl to make at dinner, to throw in my oatmeal if I wanted to. Or you could just eat the soybeans. Those are always very fun too.
Does it have a shelf life?
Tofu?
Like if you never open it, like, and it can be on the date on the thing, is it toss it or?
I toss it, but I am really chicken about that. I really follow the dates. So Paul's asking, what about the dates? What do you think, John? It's beyond its date.
Well, depends on how far beyond.
Yeah.
If it's good, but if we're looking for.
And I mean unopened, I don't mean.
Yeah, unopened. Yeah, open definitely not. But it was unopened, like a week you're going. Okay, I would agree. But if you've got tofu or tempeh in your fridge, you think I'm not going to eat this before the expiration date, throw it in your freezer. And actually freezing it really changes the texture of your tofu. So it might be, it makes it nice crumbly.
But it also helps if you want to marinate, because you can squeeze the water out and it becomes like a sponge.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay, that's a good idea. So John just pointed out that if it makes it better for marinades, because it'll absorb it better. It makes it into a sponge.
Pressing frosted tofu is the same.
Yes, isn't it? Pressing defrosted tofu. It's the same,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay, what to do with tempeh? So there's another package of tempeh right there. It is loaded in protein. And so it's fermented soy, and they throw a grain in there. It's 17 grams of protein. Well, we had 16 on our label here per serving. So that's kind of substantial. Now, Dr. Greger recommends steaming it for 15 minutes. He says to mellow the flavor. I think it makes it less starchy. I didn't have time for that today. So what I did was I just put it in a colander and I put some steaming water over it. steamy water. I have like one of those Insta Hots to get my hot water for my tea, so I just poured it over. You cut it into chunks. You can have it in blocks. You can throw it. I think it's really good in soups or stews, or because then all that's so moist in there that it's not quite as starchy. But you just stir fry. You could grill it, but I've not had great luck grilling, to be perfectly honest. It hasn't for me. That could just be me. But I love this idea, and I have done this, is you can grate it. You grate it, and then you put it into soups and stews, and it's almost like meat, like almost like ground meat. And I actually really like that. In fact, I totally forgotten I could do that until I saw that. How fun. And where do you get tempeh? Anybody seen it in your store? You get Safeway? It's wherever the tofu is. The co-op has it, Trader Joe's has it, Rayleigh's has it, Winco has it. Okay, now here's our seitan. So John, help me out here because I'm not a big seitan person. Because I just don't usually use it. Here you can buy it. Have you ever bought that Upton's
No.
seitan? That's the one you'll generally see like at Trader Joe's or at Costco. So here's our wheat meat. So it's just the flour washed up until only the protein remains. And it does have a meaty texture, which is why John's making roasts and things out of it. Can bake it, broil it, grill it. Can you add it to soups and stews? I just put those words there and now I don't know. You can. Okay, you can add it to soups and stews.
No.
Okay, so that is going to be from wheat, so not gluten-free. Now here's our jackfruit. Now look at the big size of that jackfruit. Oh my gosh, they're huge. Yes. We had a guy here before, Tim, right? And he had a video of his mom cutting up a big, just mambo jackfruit. And I buy it in the can. But when you get it, it's got a meat-like texture, but it comes in these little, almost like triangle, almost like pineapple wedge. And it's got a little core. And so you can cut it up, and then when it's heating, you run your fork through it and it turns it into little shreds. Although my sister told me, and I have not tried this yet, is she just throws it all in the food processor and that does a great job. No?
I follow the fat-free vegan method of putting it in a skillet, and you pour a cup of water, and eating it, and then let it go for 10 minutes, cooking it, and it becomes creamy and actually.
Oh, okay. So John's suggesting that we put it from fat-free vegan. You put it in a pan with some water, let it cook for 10 minutes on each side, and then it's easier to shred. I tend to I'm putting it in my barbecue sauce. I'm shredding it as I go.
It meshes well.
Okay.
And it's something I use it with the steak pan and mix it in steak pan.
Uh-huh.
And you grate
Okay.
it.
Yeah, and John makes some really good ribs, and he mixes this with seitan. I've had those ribs. Those are good. What to do with beans? Well, I think everybody knows what a bean is, at least. What's your favorite thing to do with beans?
Chili.
And what? Chili. Chili, soup. I'm kind of excited about fall. So, because I haven't really made a soup or stew all summer. It's been too hot. So you can make bean salad. So this would be like summer things. Bean salad, hummus. So it's blended up garbanzo beans, but you could also do blended up white beans. You don't have to have garbanzos. You can put them on a salad. You can add them to your pasta. You can, so beans or lentils, we may add to our quinoa salad today. You're putting them in your tacos or burritos, which we had quite a few bean dishes on Friday. You can make your bowls. A Buddha bowl would just be a bowl with a bunch of different things in it. And those are things that you've already cooked this week, and now you're just putting them all together. Soup, chili stew, side dish. What else? Are we leaving out anything big? Falafel waffles. Okay. So tell us how you do a falafel waffle. Okay.
Spicy. And that's the mixture, you get your waffle iron and like 6 minutes and half in the strain.
So do you use chickpeas or chickpea flour? Chickpeas.
Soak them, hydrated, grind them up.
Ah, okay. So John, we're gonna have to have John make us his falafel waffle sometime. I know it's been a while. You what? Baking. You can use them in baking or black bean brownies that went like hotcakes on Friday. Yes. Okay, you know, you can also make your own veggie burgers, so you don't have to buy those Impossible Burgers. Now, those burgers are okay. They're a good substitute for meat. They're great for people who still love to eat meat, and it tastes like meat. But they're high in sodium. They're high in, you know, other chemicals to make them fit in that little package. And they're okay. And studies have shown that they still reduce risk of heart disease more than eating the real deal. But if you made your own, we would really be lowering our risk of things. So generally, you combine things. You maybe combine some beans with a grain like brown rice or quinoa with some veggies like this one looks like it has corn, or you could use grated carrots or something. So black beans, oatmeal is the grain, brown rice, barbecue sauce. You take sweet potatoes, garbanzo beans, oats, and quinoa. You make them into a little patty. You can freeze them uncooked, or you could freeze them cooked, whichever is best for you. Cook a couple at a time as you like them. So then you've always got a handful in the freezer when you need some. So I love doing this. In fact, I just ate the last of mine and I need to make some new. So if we get to the bottom line about protein, it's not hard to get enough plant-powered protein. We just need to eat a variety of foods and choose whole, real foods and eat them throughout the day. So, and then aim to have at least 3 servings of kind of a protein powerhouse every day. So some beans, and that's half a cup beans. So if I'm going to eat a cup of beans, that's just 2 of my 3. Half cup tofu or tempeh, some peanuts, some soy milk, some peanut butter. Those would be more of the protein powerhouses. And then we're going to be doing okay. We'll get plenty. So here's a 1 day of plant-based meals just to see how much protein we got. So this would be like, and I pretty much picked what I was eating that day when I was writing this. So a cup of rolled oats, that's cooked rolled oats, plus some berries, plus a few walnuts, plus a banana. And then I'm going to have a huge salad that I'm going to put my cup of beans on. And then I've got 3 cups of greens, and then a cup of various veggies that I might have in my fridge, maybe some pumpkin seeds on there. And I put a little fancy vinegar on there. I'm into fig vinegar, balsamic right now. So you might put that on there. And then at dinner, we have marinated tofu like we had today over a little brown rice. And then I'm going to cook a bunch of kale to have on the side and maybe a cup of summer squash, which I keep finding huge ones in my garden. And then maybe I'm going to have a little dessert with some ice cream for dessert. And then if I'm going to snack during the day, maybe I'm going to have some carrots with a little hummus, or I'm going to have some blueberries with some slivered almonds. Or what would be some other snacks that would give us a little protein?
You can make your own trail mix.
We can make our own little trail mix. I love that.
Let's throw them in one. Edamame.
Yes.
That's what we snack on.
You know, edamame is so fun, and to buy it unshelled, right? So you have to like work at it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, squeeze them in. Yes, edamame is a great snack idea. I need to go home and cook some. So like this came to about 70 grams of protein and 39 grams of fiber. And so do you think we're going to get enough protein from that? Do you think we're going to be satisfied and feel full? With all this fiber, we know we're going to be regular. So it's going to be good.
Drink plenty of water.
And we're going to drink plenty of water because we're not just going to go home and eat 39 grams of fiber without making some adjustments. So we're going to drink plenty of fluids.
So are you saying like about 70 grams of protein is about what we should eat daily? Or?
No, that's just what this came up to.
Oh, okay, because we still have some more lectin from our
Yep.
race class. And I just said the effects of too little protein, but the effects of too much protein. So where do you find that balance of protein?
So generally, The ladies were more like 40 or 50 grams a day. Guys, you're more like 60 to 80, and that's okay. You know, if we have too little, then we have protein deficiency, which we never see in our country, frankly. But they are looking at the negative effects of too much protein, and that's hard on your kidneys because our kidneys have to kick off this nitrogen every time we have protein, and they get tired. So, and especially if we're having any problems with our kidneys, we have to be careful about our protein intake. And in fact, if we are having problems with our kidneys, plant protein is easier on them. So kind of sticking there around 40 to 80 is generally that number. So any new proteins you might want to try this week? Plant proteins? Or any old one that you love to cook?
What about couscous?
Couscous is super fun. Isn't couscous really a pasta? Is that the one that is? It's good. It's great. And it has some protein in it, just like the other grains. It's great. It's just often when we get couscous, it ends up being lower in fiber. You can do a whole grain couscous, but you don't find those as readily. But couscous is so easy. I was just telling, I think I was telling Leanne or somebody last week when we were cooking stuff. The first time I did a cooking demo using couscous, like all you do is add water, right? It's so easy. And so I added my water and then went about doing the rest. And then when I went back, this was that reversal program. I came back to get my couscous and like I hadn't fluffed it like you're supposed to after 5 minutes or something. And it just like all came out on my fork. It wasn't a good sell for the couscous, but I do love couscous. So I think that's all we got. Any protein questions? Burning questions about protein or any of the things that are protein? Yes.
What about brown rice versus white rice? What is it that makes brown rice brown rice? Is it just that it's got a shell in it?
Yes. And so it's got a little more fiber, but rice isn't a big fiber powerhouse anyway. So it's got like maybe 2 grams to the 1 gram but it's still a good choice. And I don't know that the protein is affected that much. It's got a little protein, like 4 or 5 grams per half cup. It's a good choice. Anything else? Thank you for looking at all the labels. Just leave them there and I'll come around and get them. Are there any labels we skipped? We got them all? Okay. Thank you for reading labels. Thank you out there. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I think Linda's changed the schedule around, so we're kind of getting back to basics for this quarter, this semester. So we're doing protein. I think we're doing like carbs 1 month. We're doing fats 1 month.
I missed your opening house, but, is this something new you're doing or is it self-explanatory?
Oh, the open house?
The nutrition education, you have a schedule.
Yes, Linda has created a schedule. So today, this month is protein. And then our cooking demo, John, I haven't talked to you about it, but will be on meat substitutes. And so, yeah, that's kind of a new thing. We're just getting back to the core classes, I guess you might say, because we're getting a lot of new people and we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Okay, so thank you for coming. Okay, I can't stand looking at myself. Diane, thank you for tuning in.
I was going to recommend Mary's Test Kitchen as a general place to look.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
She has all kinds of interesting, she comes at it for health reasons.
Ah.
And then she drifts into more exotic things. But I got into her because she doesn't have all the finest things. And she does something, I didn't have, so I used.
Oh, that's good.
She's Canadian. And she's overly polite, very Canadian.
Oh, red tofu. Okay.
And it's
Seitan.
and she just is, if you look, I think it's DIY tofu. She has both the silken and the regular.
Oh, really?
And She's very good with.
You know, I didn't talk at all, and I should have, about eggs too, about egg substitutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's where you're gonna, that's where it doesn't taste like chicken. It has the pumpkin seed. scrambled egg
Uh-huh.
seed.
I've got to do that. I've got to add that. Every time I talk to you, I just have new things. I need to add them to my list.
And I tried them this summer. It was visually not a treat.
Oh,
It's sort of greenish gray, but it had the right texture. It's scrambled. You don't just sort of let it wait. You treat it like scrambled eggs.
okay.
And we put that little puff of black salt on.
Right.
At the end. And you put it on toast.
Okay. Mary Test Kitchen. Have you tried to make the just egg with mung bean?
I have seen two versions that I have tried. I did not succeed where I expected to. I think part of it was lack of patience.
Uh-huh.
And I think part of it is people industrially can powder the mung bean to much finer than you can get. with
True,
regular.
exactly.
So I need to give it another go. I've still got mung beans for.
I do too, and I need to try it, but my problem I felt was my pan. And so now I have this great pan that truly is nonstick, and so I want to try it with that.
Yeah.
Cause it just stuck and looked horrible, clumpy. It wasn't great.
But I do have variant version of
Uh-huh.
doesn't taste like chicken, has what you call a toast,
Yeah,
which is a 6 ounce cup of essentially egg yolk flavored
okay,
deliciousness.
okay.
And if you do everybody else's tofu scramble with the mixture of extra firm and silk.
Yeah.
And then pour this yolky stuff on top. That's, the thing you have to watch with that is salt. And she puts the salt in first. And I found when I first made it, it burned my tongue.
Uh-huh.
So second time, I did everything else and then salt at the end.
Yeah.
Your trainer out in the real.
Okay.
Off to the co-op.
Yes, I know. He's still looking for work. I think he said he filled out like 40 applications, so.
Did he live in the area or did he come?
His family moved out to Roseville
Oh,
in the summer, yeah,
so he's in the area.
yeah. You're gonna Ivan? Yeah. Oh. And, out there? He's developing a little IT business. Well, he'd be good at it.
Yeah,
Yes, he would. He's a good teacher. He's a great teacher.
That's one thing I miss about the students, that they graduate and go back to where they, for the most part, unless they get a job,
Yeah.
where they go and. So I guess I was glad I'm near a parent because I would miss them.
I know, right?
They're so far away.
My son moved to Modesto this year. And at first it was easy to get over there and, visit and help with the move in and whatever. And now as time's going on, like, okay, I'll do it next week. Okay, I need to do that next week. And then before, he had a girlfriend in town, so he was stopping by either on the way in or the way out. And he's not doing that so much anymore.
You broke up or he did?
No, they're
Oh,
still
oh, oh.
together. And he's saying he's doing the same thing. I'll stop by on the way out. Oh, I should stop by on the way in. Oh, she's not home yet. Okay, I'll stop. Yeah. So funny how we.
Yeah, well, at least
Yeah.
he's not stopping out with the laundry.
The thing of it is that he's so particular. I don't know if he'd let anybody else do this.
I mean, even for you, it's he's too particular, where you
He's
do
very
it just right. Oh,
Yeah, no, he's,
so you don't,
all
even-
the kids, they start doing their laundry.
so you don't even meet with standards.
No,
Oh, well, that's good.
no, yes. I
Maybe
think,
did you do that on purpose, so they wouldn't be?
well, I was trying to remember, they were either 9 or 10 when they took on their own laundry. So, yeah, he's been doing it by himself for a long time.
Yeah, when I had it, when I was in my twenties, I had an apartment mate. And I used to feel a little lonely on Sunday. I had older parents, so they were both deceased when I was in my 20s. My mom died when I was 17, my dad when I was 22. But I always missed because they would take off, they would be there in the morning, but then they'd take off, they'd do Sunday dinner or whatever, but their family and or girlfriend. So I used to, I mean, I had the place to myself, but they just, it was just kind of jealous.
Yeah,
Like,
a little
I wish
bit.
I had some,
Yeah, someplace to
just-
go.
they have a, Sunday dinner or something like that. Not to drop off longer or anything, but
All right.
matter of fact, one of my housemates, pirate mates, mom picked on, he goes, where does she go grocery shopping at? And I go, I think he goes to Lucky, and there was to be 11. Because that she bought him for Christmas, a gift
Gift
card
card,
at the Lucky's.
Nice.
Oh, okay, that's what she asked.
Really, that's kind of a strange, random question, right?
I'm
Okay,
surprised I didn't really know, but I just remember the seeing the Lucky dog, so.
you're right. He could have been reusing them,
Yeah.
although we didn't do that much back then.
Yep.
All right.